At this point in my life, I should be used to dealing with inept motorists. But what's going on at the Driver Rehabilitation Center this year might just prove to be more than I can handle. Instead of taking a regular fresh batch of bad drivers off the streets and teaching them how to be safe behind the wheel, we figured it would be in the best public interest to deal with people we've already dealt with. Specifically, folks who couldn't figure out how to graduate from our institution. It seemed like a good idea at the time, but
it's been a harrowing experience.
Of course, they took all the booze out of the limo because they knew I was coming.
We started off with the worst 9 drivers we've ever had at the Driver Rehabilitation Center. And our goal was to see which one of them is the absolute worst of all time.
That was definitely a fail.
At this stage, we were hoping to have graduated 5 of them. But only 3 have managed to leave.
I did it!
now that we've waved goodbye to the 3 people who did have a clue about driving, the 6 folks who remain are scaring the living hell out of me. This is Canada's worst driver! Canada's worst driver ever!
The remaining nominees for the title, Canada's Worst Driver Ever, are... From Season 3, we have Slowpoke Shelby.
Shelby still drives under the speed limit.
Then there's over-analytical Michael from Season 2.
He nearly killed himself driving.
Again, she exaggerates somewhat.
No, I don't.
Canada's Worst Driver runner-up from Season 6, Dale is back.
You don't do a lane change through the middle of an intersection.
You don't?
No, it's illegal.
Runner-up for Canada's Worst Driver Season 7, Sly might be Canada's worst driver ever.
Still on the roads more than once a day.
Season 8's Kevin, who is blind in his right eye, is also still in the running.
He's made a vow to me that if he does not graduate this season, he will stop driving altogether and cut up his license.
And the final nominee is Canada's Worst Driver from Season 5, Angelina, who was nominated by her friend Christine.
I love you, baby, but you need some serious help.
The help Angelina needs is not just driving help. She needs medical help.
Oh, I'm freaking out! Ah!
Angelina's family doctor has retired, and she's on a multi-year waiting list to see a psychiatrist.
Oh, I'm panicking. Oh, it's a little late. There's no cops. Please tell me no.
Angelina used to be prescribed anti-anxiety medications. But with no doctor these days, she can't get that prescription refilled. So now, she's self-medicating.
I don't have just bad driving habits. I have other bad habits, too.
At home in Sudbury, Angelina says she needs to drive.
Oh, you little...
But her unmedicated mood swings are scaring her mother.
You know what happens. I mean, when people get angry, they act stupid. And then stupid things happen.
You and you're signaling. Go. Oh, people are so stupid.
Sometimes Canada's worst drivers drive incredibly fast, doing very difficult maneuvers that get their adrenaline flowing and their sphincters puckering. Next, we're going to have them do a 3-point turn, which is impossible to make exciting, unless you have them do it surrounded by a moat. Ah! Now, the first thing to do in this challenge is adjust the mirrors so you can see your rear tire, which I can now do.
The second thing to do in this challenge is the 3-point turn itself. Using my mirror, I can see my rear tire is approaching the moat, and using my common sense, I complete the task in 15 seconds. Before Sly starts, I tell him to picture a triangle.
Ah. So...
You have a little eureka moment there?
Well, no, I'm just trying to figure out how to picture a triangle. Triangle is just, well, your point's at the top, and you're creating a triangle.
I was trying to help Sly by telling him to imagine a triangle, but all I've done is confuse him.
By it being a triangle, then do all my turns need to be completely straight?
How do you turn straight?
Sly began this challenge without adjusting his mirrors, and now he's driving straight into the water.
Oh, crap.
Let's hope he doesn't keep on going backwards from there.
I know I'm going into the water.
There is a four-wheel drive shifter in the car. I wonder if he'll notice.
Sly fails to notice the four-wheel drive shifter, but he does know that if he gets stuck permanently, this challenge is a fail.
I've kind of failed at this.
Sly might never get out of driver's rehab.
I'm stuck.
Angelina is up next.
I can't get it out of the park.
Is your foot on the brake?
No.
Put your foot on the brake.
Never mind, figured it out.
In practically every challenge this season, Angelina has failed and then thrown a tantrum.
Woo!
Oh, man. Why would you go so far over?
I didn't think it was that far over.
It's something that's been deeply troubling for our panel of experts.
Move!
It won't move.
Stupid hard piece of car.
Put it in here.
This is not going to help her driving at all.
Shamala Kiru is our resident psychologist.
If she continues at this emotional level, getting frustrated, getting flooded, throwing tantrums, I don't think that rehab is the right place for her.
Joining Shamala on the panel is Tim Danter, our head driving instructor, Philippe Laterno, our high-speed driving instructor, and Cam Woolley, our legal expert.
It's to the point where I think she's risking her own safety and the safety of the crew here in the show.
What's that smell?
That smell is the stench of failure.
Get me the out of here. I need a drink. They're gonna I think they're gonna ship me to rehab.
When we come back, the rest of Canada's worst drivers ever demonstrate how well they can do a three-point turn.
Help.
Canada's worst drivers ever are showing us how well they can do a three-point turn while surrounded by a moat. Michael's friend Yolanda came here to support him, but instead of being supportive, Yolanda is refusing to drive with him, and she's laughing at his failures. On Michael's second attempt, though, he does a perfect three-point turn.
That wasn't quite a three-point turn. Your right wheel was in the lane area when it shouldn't have been.
Looks like a three-point turn to me.
Michael is improving, and Yolanda is not helping.
I'd rather beat you over the head than have to bury you. You know that.
Also, I sometimes think you enjoy beating me over the head.
Last time Dale tried to do a three-point turn in a moat, I got wet.
I'm no scientist, but this doesn't seem to be working. I don't know everything, but I do know some things. And this is not working.
Can Dale do a three-point turn today?
Explain it as you do it, Dale.
All right.
Dale, did you just hit that rock?
No.
Dale, did you just hit that rock?
No.
When Michael drove this vehicle,
It didn't go in the water, did it?
he left it in four-wheel drive.
Do you know what the difference between two-wheel drive is and four-wheel drive? No? Do you know the difference between front-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, the back wheels will not follow the front wheels unless you do your S thing.
No, that has nothing to do with front-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive.
Doesn't it?
No. Older cars and sports cars these days are rear-wheel drive. That means that when you press the gas, the power goes to the rear wheels, and only the rear wheels spin. They push the front of the car.
Gotcha.
Front-wheel drive means when you give it the gas, the front wheels spin, and the back of the car just gets pulled along.
Okay.
So given that information, what do you think four-wheel drive means?
Just what you said.
Four-wheel drive means all four wheels turn, which creates much better traction.
Phil.
But there's not enough traction to get Dale out of the drink.
Oh, intricate challenges,
This
I know.
is not an intricate challenge at all. This is really quite a simple one.
Shelby's up next.
I always wanted to try this challenge.
I always wanted Shelby to graduate. But that might never happen.
It's not good.
Shelby can't do a three-point turn.
I ended up in the water.
We taught Kevin how to do a three-point turn last year. This challenge really is easy.
Use your mirrors.
And finally, someone is making it look as easy as it is.
You did it. That's a three-point turn.
All of our hard-taught lessons are not for naught.
You learned something from doing this last year? Yep. I think you did.
If Canada's worst drivers ever want to go camping, what they should do is they should pack a tent and they should take the bus. What they should not do is get behind the wheel of a really large truck that's pulling a trailer, because the results of that could be catastrophic. However, pulling a really large trailer behind a really large truck is the next challenge for Canada's worst drivers ever here at our rehab center. Well, but... Oh, I hate camping.
Every nominee for Canada's worst driver ever
Oh, this is pathetic.
learned how to handle a trailer when they were in our rehab center before. Now, we'll find out if they remember how to do it by driving this truck and trailer around a forward loop. And then the hard part.
Watch it come around in the mirror.
Backing into this generously sized parking space.
Perfectly square. Everything is golden.
Before Sly starts, Fred reminds him to take all turns wide.
What is a wide turn?
A wide turn means that if you are turning left, you should keep the vehicle as far to the right as you can for as long as you can. Trailer drivers do this because the wheels of a trailer will take a corner much sharper than the wheels of the vehicle that's towing it. Wide turns, good. Tight turns, bad.
Let's go camping.
Sly may not remember the principles of making wide turns, but he does remember the principles of reversing a trailer.
If I steer to the left, the trailer's going to go to the right.
That's right.
Understanding the principles, though, doesn't mean Sly can put them into practice.
I'm still not really sure in terms of reversing what to do.
What Sly does is nothing.
For your trailer to go to the right, where do you turn?
To the left.
Okay, now you've said it 8 times.
To get a better idea of what to do, Sly gets out of the truck while it's still in gear.
Oh.
Sly wisely throws in the towel.
I'll walk away.
Before Dale starts, I remind her to take all forward turns wide. But she's taking them all tight.
Do you understand the difference between sharp and wide on a turn?
No.
No? So we're just saying words.
Yeah.
If you're gonna turn wide, I mean this, Dale, this is a wide left turn. And this is a sharp left turn. Honk.
When Dale prepares to reverse, she thinks that to make the trailer go to her right, she has to...
Take it wide?
You're killing me, Dale.
I know I am.
Killing
but
me.
Just hang in there. Just hang in there.
If you want to make the trailer go to the right, what do you have to do?
I don't know.
Dale's biggest driving problem is frankly the way her brain works.
If you can figure out my brain, you're going to be in the Guinness Book of Records.
When we come back, the rest of Canada's worst drivers ever deal with our trailer.
Oh, no!
Canada's worst drivers ever are demonstrating how well they can tow a trailer.
I'm still not really sure in terms of reversing what to do.
And Shelby doesn't take the first turn wide enough. Trying to reverse back to safety, Shelby opens the trailer up like a tin can.
Sorry about your trailer, guys.
Trying to back into the parking cove,
Oh.
Shelby consults a higher power.
God, can you please send Andrew to help me?
See how it's starting to swing to the right?
A few pieces of helpful advice later,
Turn to the right so it goes to your left.
Shelby makes it to the parking spot. Shelby should never drive a trailer.
I couldn't have done it without you.
Not a chance in hell could you have done that without me.
I know.
Michael says that reversing a trailer demonstrates the
Law of conservation of momentum in a closed system.
Is that correct?
Yes. More precisely, law of conservation of angular momentum in a closed system.
Michael drives the forward section perfectly, but then stops to calculate the angles required on the reverse section because
When you're driving, you don't have time to do much in the way of calculation unless you're one of those people who happens to have a supercomputer in his head.
Michael doesn't have a supercomputer in his head, so he gets out to recalculate.
Okay, I go forward that way. It'll swing this way a little, just a little. Reverse, then go hard left, forward until it straightens out. Stop.
This further calculation lasts over a minute.
Go backward until it's just before jackknifing.
What kind of computer do you have in your head?
A high-end desktop. But I think I need to upgrade some of my software.
And how many gigs would you say your hard drive contains?
Probably a few hundred terabytes.
A few hundred terabytes? And an average person would have about how much?
A few dozen. Now think. Okay, picture this from above.
Michael's mental computer must be crashing.
Whoa!
Because he's crashing.
I'm glad I'm not in the car.
For the next 3 minutes, I encourage Michael to keep trying while he keeps telling me that he should just quit.
See what I mean?
Michael finally insists on quitting.
Mental computer just not up to the task?
Not at the moment.
Kevin does the forward part perfectly.
Wide turn.
And
Left, left, left.
he reverses perfectly.
You're done. Oh my God.
Kevin's perfect drive is his first ever.
Praise the Lord!
Angelina starts in a state of panic.
Slow down. So why are you going so fast? You're panicking. You're panicking.
And when Angelina panics, her driving is dangerous. Coming around the next turn,
You're using your mirror, right?
Angelina happily puts all of her focus into the mirror.
You gotta turn left, isn't
Oh, no! Sorry!
Just think about the angle you gotta deal with. And remember that you're already grinding against some other car.
Oops, forgot.
Getting ready to reverse the trailer, Angelina has completely lost focus.
You've got to be a genius to do that.
It's moments like this where her need for anxiety medication becomes readily apparent.
You're using your mirrors? You watching where you want to go?
Yes!
To compensate for her lack of medication, Angelina says she self-medicates with alcohol.
It's one thing to watch the trailer. It's one thing to watch the trailer, but you've also got to watch the truck, Angelina.
Yes, sir.
And she told Shamila that she has a habit of taking other people's prescription meds. Angelina isn't self-medicating today,
I want to do it.
and now she's having a panic attack.
I don't know if she realizes how serious this issue is. I just don't see her taking responsibility.
You okay?
I give up.
Angelina needs more than just driving lessons.
Without sounding rude, how much of her driving problem is truly a psychiatric problem, do you think?
I think when it gets to the point of frustration, then it starts to blend.
So helping her is partially driving skill help and partially helping her mentally, right?
Right. Yep.
Okay.
Being on a waiting list for both a family doctor and a psychiatrist is having a terrible impact on Angelina's mental health.
Most of the stuff that she needs is narcotics, so you can't get it in the clinic either.
So is the next step in rehabilitating her as a driver getting her to a doctor here?
That would be fabulous.
Okay, let's see if we can make that happen.
Is that to talk about it?
No, for sure, for sure, for sure.
That's why I stick around, because, you know, she doesn't have anybody.
When we come back, Canada's worst drivers ever will have their high-speed steering tested.
Our rehab center motto, look where you want to go, is best encapsulated with a challenge we do every single season, and it's called the eye of the needle. If you want to put a thread through the eye of a needle, you have to look directly through that needle's eye. And it's the same with driving. If you want to drive through something, you have to look through that something. So the next challenge for Canada's worst drivers ever is to thread the eye of the needle. Oh, I wasn't looking.
This year's Eye of the Needle course contains 5 offset arches that must be driven through at 80 kilometers an hour. And the vehicle they'll be doing that drive in is our once pristine Camaro, that these days is looking a little worse for wear.
Get it up to 80. Wow, 80 is fast, man. When you're looking at this coming at you, that's 80 right there. Go straight through, look straight through, and get over here fast. Woo! That is a wicked crazy Eye of the Needle course.
It's crazy, but so are all highway emergencies. Shelby knows where drivers in this situation are most likely to have impact.
Does the driver usually hit on the driver's side or on the passenger side?
The driver hits on the passenger side.
The driver does indeed hit on the passenger side. We have have done a version of this challenge in every single season of Canada's Worst Driver. And over 90% of the impacts we've seen have been on the right front corner. Drivers clearly have a tendency to put themselves in the safest spot while sacrificing the safety of their passenger. Will Shelby steer safely through the foam arches?
I think you're going to see a lot of foam flying.
Instead of going 80, Shelby fixates on the first arch and speeds up to almost 100. That's 2 hits on the passenger side. Make that 3 hits.
Whoops.
4, actually.
The first time I heard the car clip something, I started looking at the edge of the arches, trying to avoid them, and it didn't work all that well for me. We can try one more time at slower speeds.
How slow do you think you should go?
About 50 clicks.
50 clicks an hour is a residential speed. That's what you can drive around any neighborhood in Calgary.
Shelby drives 50k an hour every day. But even at this residential speed, Shelby slams into the first arch.
Oh.
Shelby might be Canada's worst driver ever.
I think we're here till the end.
Angelina arrives hungover again, wearing stilettos again.
Where can I throw up?
I'm more nervous than you are.
Oh, my.
Throw up in those high heel shoes. That's about all they're good for when it comes to driving.
You know what? I'm a bit concerned. She's already had a meltdown on the 3-point turn on the trailer challenge. I'm not sure if she's going to be able to sustain this emotionally.
You know what? Every driving challenge should come with a shot of morphine.
If you live in Sudbury, you might want to think about moving because this driver is your neighbor. Whoa, that's not 80 kilometers an hour.
Angelina's speed was over 100 when she hit the first arch. And while speeding, she continually looked where she was going instead of looking where she wanted to go.
It's hard. I tried. I'm losing my mind.
Right out of control.
Yeah, emotionally and in the car.
I think Angelina would have had better pedal control if her footwear was better.
Fine, you can get rid of these two. There, you want them? You can keep them. You owe me $300.
I don't want your shoes. I want you to drive in sensible shoes.
I don't have any sensible shoes.
Angelina is banned from driving in rehab until she gets sensible shoes.
We're going to get you shoes here that you could conceivably drive well in, and then we'll move on from there.
Dale is up next.
Dale might be one of the most dangerous drivers we've ever had at rehab, and I think you're about to see why. You ready, Edie? That has to be one of the craziest clean runs I've ever seen. No, I take that back. That's the craziest clean run I've ever seen.
Dale was in a full skid headed toward the second arch, and you cannot steer when you're skidding. Somehow, though, Dale managed to squeeze through.
You stop your skid there and hit nothing.
A pass is when you hit nothing. So I have to call that a pass.
Wow.
When we come back, the rest of Canada's worst drivers ever run through our eye of the needle course.
That's not how I wanted that to go.
Canada's worst drivers ever are learning to look where they want to go by attempting to drive cleanly through our Eye of the Needle course.
Whoops.
And Sly is up next.
Sly like the...
Wind.
I keep on hoping for a different answer, but it's Sly like the wind every time. So why don't we think about what we will do if we're successful on this run?
Me and Fred will have a little dance.
And what will we do if this is not a success?
Do a sad dance.
Sly gets correctly up to 80k an hour, but that's about the only thing he does correctly.
Oh, freak. Oh, man. Sorry. Freak.
Okay, that was about the most destruction I've ever seen.
Sorry.
Sly like the wind in Tornado Alley.
At least in Tornado Alley, the destruction is caused by an act of God. This debacle was caused by Sly and his poor car handling. Obviously, the side mirror will have to be replaced.
Huh. Oh, wow.
The relevancy of this challenge is probably more apparent than any other challenge we do. But Sly doesn't get it.
Could you see this being relevant in real life, like something like this?
You are still an enigma wrapped in a mystery, shrouded by confusion, my friend.
Or an onion.
When Sly goes on his second attempt, I can't help but feel bad for the passenger side mirror. In some ways, Sly shows improvement, but not enough improvement. Sly's 2 runs are the worst so far.
I do believe you owe me the world's saddest dance.
Oh.
Dum 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 dum. Dude, I think I need a tuba.
Kevin was terrible on this challenge last year.
Eye of the Needle. Take one for Kevin. Think he'll do it? Place your bets now.
That's not how I wanted that to go.
Well, if you bet on Kevin succeeding, the house is going to collect your cash.
For his final attempt, Kevin wants to try driving slower.
Let's try 60, yeah.
Driving at a slower speed, Kevin is still a disaster.
This wouldn't be an improvement over last year, would it?
No.
Kevin had been showing improvements.
I was hoping to graduate on Saturday, but I don't think I'm going to.
Michael will be driving with me.
Navigation to manual.
Engage thrusters.
If this was a science fiction movie, Michael would fly through each arch at light speed, but alas, when Michael gets through the first arch, his speed drops from 80 to 60, which is acceptable.
Back up to 80, Michael.
And to make this a practically perfect run, Michael is back up to 80 before the final arch.
Well done, sir.
Thank you.
It wasn't consistently 80k an hour, but it's definitely a pass.
Can't help somebody when they're in denial and make excuses for what they did. But if he's supposed to do it at 80, he needs to be at 80.
I honestly do think that Michael's going to get more out of rehab, become a better driver, if the encouragement starts to flow from your end more than saying that he's in denial.
I'd rather kick his ass than bury him.
I'd rather you encourage Then do ass kickings. That's what I'm saying.
Agreed. She's not a bad woman, but she has got to learn the concept of not always giving negative feedback.
Angelina wore high-heeled shoes on her first attempt. Now, I have a present for her.
Sweet. I love presents.
Flat, rubber-soled shoes will give Angelina more control on the pedals.
Oops. Those are nice spanking shoes.
Actually, I will wear these too.
I wish wearing these shoes would cure Angelina of all her driving problems, but pedal control is only one of them.
What am I?
80. You're 80. You're 80.
Did I do 80?
You were doing 80, but you dropped it down.
I think I did. Oh my God.
Angelina did indeed close her eyes. After she hit the second arch, she basically gave up. Until Angelina can get her mental health in order, she should quit driving.
Oh, I'm so frustrated. I hate my life.
Come here, Angelina. Quit throwing your little tantrum and come here.
No, I want to throw my tantrum. I'm on a very difficult week, you know that? And I can't drive a car.
She's getting completely flooded and frustrated. She's not able to emotionally regulate right now.
She's losing it.
I'm a horrible to throw 4-year-old tantrums.
That's enough.
Yes, I'll throw a 4-year-old. I don't. No, I'm not gonna stop.
Okay, well.
To be honest, I actually think it's going to do her more harm to stay here any longer. She needs to get out of this environment. She needs some ongoing, regular support.
Hop in the car. I'll drive you back.
Driving back, Angelina tells me her biggest problem is the way she's been self-medicating.
I'm trying to leave the liquor. I'm just trying to do everything everybody's telling me to do, and I'm trying to be a good girl, and it's very hard. And I don't want to be like this. I don't know what to do. I don't even know what to do anymore.
Come here. It's...
I'm having such a hard time even functioning as a normal adult, let alone driving.
I know.
I feel like a 4-year-old and I can't help it, and I'm scared and I'm trying. I don't know what to do.
There is only one thing to do, and we are going to do it. This episode, the nominees for Canada's worst driver ever showed us how well they can do a 3-point turn.
Crap.
How well they can tow a trailer.
Any competent driver should be able to do that.
And how well they can steer at high speed.
Whoops. Ooh.
And during every single one of those challenges,
Move!
Angelina had a complete breakdown.
Everything's just so torturous. I'm just so tortured. Oh, it hurts to be me.
Okay.
Now, Angelina is having a therapy session with Shamala.
So it sounds like, to me, Angelina, it sounds like a lot of what we're seeing in the car goes way beyond driving for you.
Well, obviously, it's not all about driving.
Right.
I don't even know why I'm on a driving show. Probably should be on Intervention Canada.
Right. And so what I'm hearing is that you would love to get some support, that you're in a lot of pain.
I'm in so much pain. I'd rather somebody punched me in the face than feel this mental pain.
We've arranged for Angelina to spend the next 60 days in a supportive medical environment where she won't have to self-medicate.
And I self-medicate to just be normal. Like,
Right, because it's painful, right, to be where you are.
It's just painful to be in this body.
The trouble is, Angelina is refusing our help.
I just don't know why I can't just stabilize and just continue on. Like, I don't get it. It said I've got to be shipped off like a piece of the cattle.
So we can turn off the cameras.
Like, they're going to ship me off like cattle.
When the session ends, Angelina does agree to accept our offer.
I've got to go for 60 days. I'm so scared. Just give me a vodka. Oh my God, I'm going to die. How long is 60 days? 2 months? Can I have a drink of my vodka? I need a big drink.
Now, it's time for the remaining bad drivers to chat with our experts. Starting with Michael, who was supposed to have been brought to rehab by his friend Eric. However, due to a medical issue, Eric couldn't come, and instead, his wife Yolanda came. And she's been constantly berating Michael.
Yolanda only understands negative feedback.
Right, and I just don't see the need in that 100% of the time.
Nor do I. As far as she's concerned, there is perfect, which is beyond what is physically possible, and there's horrible, which is me.
And this is why I think that she's detrimental to your rehabilitation as a driver.
I am very much inclined to agree.
You know that we've asked Eric.
I'm aware. He informed me last night.
Switch him up.
Yeah.
So if Eric comes back and replaces her as your nominator, you're cool with that?
I would consider it a definite improvement, and yes, I would be all right with that. Although, to be quite honest, I'd rather he not need to.
Do you think you should graduate this episode?
I would certainly like to, and based on my performance on Add the Needle, I would say I deserve to.
Kevin passed the 3-point turn test and the trailer challenge. Does he feel ready to graduate?
Well, I'm kind of mixed on that. I mean, I would like to graduate, but I would also like to get more education, but I don't know if that has to come from you guys or myself.
Look, don't teach yourself.
Do any of the other nominees feel like they're finally ready to return to public streets?
No.
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 Now, we should be deciding who will leave rehab as our next graduate. But Angelina has already left to deal with her psychological problems.
I think it's really good we're talking about this in the show, too. There's a lot of people in Canada with some personal problems, mental health problems affecting their driving, and I think it's important that we talk about it and that people talk about it to their family and most importantly, get help. And if they can't get help, do like we're doing and help them get help.
Yeah.
You know, and I think for Angelina, it's really courageous for her to admit that she needs help. So I want to applaud her for that.
Let's move on then with the business at hand. Should we graduate someone else? The pressure of being named Canada's worst driver ever can be a lot. In fact, it can be too much for some people. Y'all must have noticed that Angelina's no longer standing amongst you, and that's simply because Angelina is no longer here. So, she will not be named Canada's worst driver ever. One of you, 5 people, will be named Canada's worst driver ever. Which one will have to wear the unwanted crown? Only time will tell.
If you or someone you know needs help with a mental health problem, contact the Canadian Mental Health Association. Silence is not the cure. On the next episode of Canada's Worst Driver Ever, we test the nominees to see if they've finally learned where their wheels are.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. No way.
We test their steering and stopping ability with a game of car hockey.
I got dressed up for this!
And nerves get frayed during the longest reversing challenge in the world.
You missed one.